What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we got our updated Daniology Power 35 rankings heading into week 9 of college hoops. I'm ready to get right into it. I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. We do daily college basketball content here on the channel along with these updated power rankings every single Monday morning. So hit that sub button, hit that like button, and yeah guys, let's get it started. Alright, so here is my Power 35 rankings heading into week 9, and we got Purdue back on top as our number 1 team. It was a couple of weeks where I had UConn as my number 1 team. Purdue back on top. We all know they're undefeated. Zach Edey has been the player of the year front runner since the beginning of the season, really. Their shooting around him has been pretty good, and they have good defense. They're up here at number 1. Easily, they should be the consensus number 1 for everyone right now. At number 2, we do have the Kansas Jayhawks, and this one could be switched. Really, the top 5 for me, I could all see arguments for them to be number 2. I went with Kansas because over the past few weeks recently, they have been dominating teams, and I know they just had a scary one against Oklahoma State at home, but they dominated Indiana, dominated Seton Hall at home, dominated Missouri on the road, which is looking a lot better considering how good Mizzou has looked at home with wins over Kentucky and Illinois for them. So Kansas, even though they had a scary one, they did survive and still pull off the win over Oklahoma State. Kansas is up here at number 2 for me this week. At number 3, I do have UConn, only moving down 2 spots for me. I still believe they're one of the best teams in the country. They lost to a really good Xavier team on the road in a tough environment. I still think that they are the deepest team in the country. They still have a lot of potential for this year, and I still have them up here as the number 3 team in the country. At number 4, I do have the Arizona Wildcats. They do have the 1 loss on the season to Utah, but I feel like that one was kind of fluky. They have one of the best front courts in the country with Turbellis and Ballo down low. I mean, that caused for a bunch of mismatch problems versus pretty much almost every team in the country. But I do still believe the teams ahead of them are better than Arizona at this point, but I do have them up at number 4 this week. A very solid win over Arizona State, and Arizona should plow through the Pac-12. I mean, other than UCLA, there's not much competition there in the Pac-12, and already beat probably the 3rd best team in their conference in Arizona State. So Wildcats are up here at number 4. At number 5, we do have the Houston Cougars. Just other than the win in Charlottesville against Virginia, not too many good wins for the Houston Cougars at this point. Eye test wise, I could see arguments for Houston to maybe be number 2. I could definitely see that, and if you guys wanted to tell me you have Houston as your number 2, like I said, I do think all 5 of the, or 2 through 5, all have an argument to be the number 2 team in the country for me at this point. But we will find out more about these teams later on throughout the year. But for now, I do have Houston coming in at number 5. The main factor for me in these top 5 is UConn got a big win over Alabama on a neutral site where they blew them out pretty much, and Houston lost to Alabama at home. So that shouldn't really come into play all the way, but it did come into play with how close I believe 2 through 5 is at this point. So coming in here at number 6, I do have the Texas Longhorns, undefeated with Rodney Terry as the head coach there for Texas, and they started off Big 12 play. The first real test was a road game at Oklahoma. Not an easy game whatsoever. It was a very close one. They came out there with the W. Very impressive there. Texas is here at number 6. At number 7, we do have Tennessee. Now, Tennessee, we've seen how good they can be and how bad they can be. You know, they had a loss against Colorado, and then they got a big win over Kansas, which might be one of, if not the best wins out of anyone in the country. I mean, that's Kansas's only loss, and the way they held Kansas to under 55 points in that game was just a defensive clinic by Tennessee, and that's very impressive. If we can get that Tennessee team, they definitely are a clear top 10 team. I have them in at 7 right now. I think the game against Arizona on the road where they lost by 5 points is probably what we're going to get mostly throughout the season. I think their ceiling is what we saw against Kansas, but I think most of the time they're going to be around what they were against Arizona, which was still a very good team, and is why I have them landing here at number 7. At number 8, I do have Gonzaga. You guys might be thinking, well, that's a little bit high for Gonzaga, but they have been killing it lately. Big win over Alabama. I know it was a neutral site, but it was a neutral site game in Birmingham, Alabama. So it's basically a home game for the Tide, and Gonzaga put up 100 points on that Bama team, which I thought Bama had a pretty good defense, but Gonzaga went in there and put on a scoring clinic. They're up here at number 8 for me. They have been looking very good lately. Alabama has been looking very good lately to me as well. I mean, they still have a very good win on the road at Houston. Their only 2 losses are to UConn and Gonzaga, but they got a really solid road win again at Mississippi State. I mean, this Alabama team travels very well as they have 2 pretty good road wins already this season. Brandon Miller is a superstar in this league, and I'm excited to watch him just grow more and more throughout the season. And man, Alabama, they're up here at number 9. At number 10, I do have UCLA, another team that you might be thinking maybe a little bit high. I wanted to put UCLA higher than 10, but I just couldn't put them over the 9 teams I have ahead of them right now, because UCLA has been playing so good recently, and if it wasn't for the few losses that they had early on in the season to some good teams, they would be higher on this list, because eye test wise, I could argue UCLA might be a top 7-6 team in the country for sure. I mean, they have been playing amazing lately, and this UCLA team is the best UCLA team I've seen in a while. It's better than the teams that they've had with Johnny Juzang. I've said that for a couple weeks now. They've been looking really good. They're up at number 10 for me. Another team that has been looking really good and are my top ACC team right now, yes they are, the Miami Hurricanes, and Isaiah Wong has been killing it lately. I mean, the performances he's been putting up, amazing to watch. If you haven't watched Isaiah Wong play at Miami, definitely give him a look soon. They also got Nigel Pack, who had a big game against Notre Dame recently. Big transfer. He's starting to come into, feel more comfortable with this Miami team. Norchad Omier, I mean, they got a squad there at Miami. They're in at number 11. At number 12, a team that Miami beat recently in a close game. Virginia almost came back in this one. We have Virginia, and Virginia, a couple losses recently to Houston and Miami, but still a very solid team. I think they looked a little bit better early in the season. We'll see if they can start to get back to that. But I think around 12 is where they're going to be, throughout the season. I think they're more of a 3-seed team once we get down to the tournament. And I think that we're really starting to see their true colors. But still, a very solid team and a veteran team. They're in here at number 12. At number 13, another team you guys might be thinking still pretty high. Like, okay, they just beat UConn. UConn's only loss so far this season. But let's pump your brakes on them. Well, you could say that, but it's not just the win over UConn. Xavier has been beating teams a lot recently, and they do have early losses to Gonzaga, to Duke, and Indiana. Both Duke and Indiana ranked below them. But since then, I think early on, Xavier's defense was really bad. Like, Xavier had a terrible defense. They were letting teams put up 80 points on them pretty much in every game they played. But I think recently, especially against UConn, Xavier played some pretty good defense, and they've definitely improved on that. They have a really good team there, and I have them up here at number 13 because all 3 of their losses came early. As of late, they have been winning and been on a pretty good win streak there. They're up at number 13 for me this week. Next up, coming in at number 14, we do have the Arkansas Razorbacks, and still a very solid team. It's tough that they had the injuries to Tony Brazile, Nick Smith Jr., But I believe the key to this team, along with Anthony Black and Ricky Council IV playing really good ball, is Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh could save this Arkansas team with the injuries. Another freshman, and could be a huge piece for this team. I still think, even though they did lose this week against LSU on the road, still a very solid team, and they got some good matchups there in the SEC. A lot of opportunities to pick up some good wins. I think their next one is Missouri, so that could be a big win for Arkansas. I still have them up here at number 14. And same with Baylor. Baylor just picked up a tough road loss, just like Arkansas. A little bit worse of a loss. They lost by a lot more than Arkansas did, but at Iowa State, tough environment there. Road games in the Big 12 and the SEC really are a gauntlet, and I don't want to overreact too much to a road conference loss. Because we're just starting to get into conference play. They're going to have chances to redeem those losses and have a lot of opportunities to do that, because I believe the Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball, the SEC the second best conference in college basketball. So both Arkansas and Baylor going to have plenty of opportunities to redeem those losses and get some good wins. And both of those teams are very good teams right now, coming in at 14 and 15. At number 16, I do have the Wisconsin Badgers, and really the Big Ten has been falling off as of late. I mean, I thought the Big Ten started the year maybe was looking like they're turning things around, might be one of the best conferences in college basketball, but they've been starting to fall off a little bit recently. Wisconsin, one of those teams, they haven't really fallen off, so they're up here at number 16. I think Greg Gard, super good coach, and Wisconsin, a well-coached team there. They've been winning games, got some good wins over teams like Marquette, over Maryland. They're up here at 16. At number 17, I do have TCU, probably higher on the Horned Frogs than most. They only have the one really bad loss early in the season, but they had some injury problems early in the year. Ever since they've been healthy, they've been undefeated, been beating some pretty good teams, just got a solid win at home over Texas Tech. I have TCU up at 17. At number 18, I do have the Duke Blue Devils. They did have a loss to Wake Forest recently, but Derek Whitehead's starting to get going here for him. They need Derek Lively to get going. They have a lot of freshmen and a lot of potential on this Duke team. I don't know if I trust them to really figure it all out yet, but maybe that's the absence in Coach K. You know, you miss Coach K. I feel like he would definitely be able to develop these freshmen a lot better than Jon Scheyer is right now. But, you know, Jon Scheyer, he'll get better. Duke, I think they have potential to climb, but they also have potential to fall on this list. They're here at 18. At number 19, we do have Indiana, very similar to Duke. You know, Duke did lose to Wake Forest. Indiana lost to some better teams, but in a worse way. They lost to Kansas pretty bad, and they lost to Arizona pretty bad. And it's not so much the losses. I wish Indiana would have played Kansas and Arizona a little bit closer, but because they lost so bad, I just don't believe that the Hoosiers are on that type of level, like championship potential level. I don't think they're quite on that tier yet, but Jalen Hood-Schifino, he has been looking pretty good lately. He's a freshman, and if he can start to show a little bit more and become a star, look out, Indiana. They're going to need him to jump up to that next level for sure. At number 20, we do have Missouri. How about Missouri, man? Dennis Gates, Coach of the Year candidate in his first season. He hit the transfer portal hard in his first offseason there, and this Missouri team looking very solid. They got two very good home wins against Illinois and against Kentucky. They got a tough road game coming up at Arkansas in Fayetteville. That's going to be super tough. I'm interested to see how they'll play in that one, but they're in here at number 20 in the power rankings this week. At number 21, we have the only other undefeated team along with Purdue, and that is the New Mexico Lobos. They got a big game coming up against UNLV. They're coming to town. That should be a good one, but Lobos undefeated, looking pretty good. They're my top mid-major team ranked, and they're in here at 21. My second highest mid-major team is right behind them, and that is Charleston. Only loss coming to North Carolina, but they do have a good win over Virginia Tech, and that loss to North Carolina is their only loss. They've been looking very solid lately. They keep winning. They deserve to be ranked here, and they're up here at number 22. At number 23, we do have Iowa State. Team I mentioned early did get a big home win over Baylor, and they've been looking pretty good. All season long, they've shown that Ames is a very tough place to play. A lot of teams went in there and have had some struggles this season. So Iowa State looking very solid. The only thing you could really knock about them was that tough loss to Iowa, which looks a lot worse now because Iowa's been losing to I think Iowa's lost like 3 or 4 straight now, so that loss doesn't look as good, but it was a road game. I still think Iowa State, very solid team. They're up at 23. At number 24, we do have San Diego State, another team that had a tough loss to St. Mary's, a very good St. Mary's team, a well-coached team, so I don't fault them too much for that, but they've been winning games recently. They got good wins this season over teams like Ohio State. I still have San Diego State up here at number 24 as one of my top mid-major teams. At number 25, we do have Providence, and Providence has been looking very good the past few weeks. Undefeated in the month of December. The Friars have been looking very solid. I think they're 4-0 in Big East play, along with a double overtime victory over Marquette at home. We all know Providence has a very tough environment when you go in on the road to play, and they got UConn coming to town, so that should be a very fun matchup there. Providence cracks my top 25, coming in at number 25. At number 26, we do have Marquette. Like I just said, they did lose to Providence in double overtime on the road, so these two teams very close. I'm excited to watch them play in Milwaukee for a home game for Marquette. That should be a really fun one to see that rematch. But Marquette coming in here at number 26. They've been solid all year long. They still have the really good win over Baylor. I think if they would have beat Wisconsin, it was a very close game in that rivalry game. They could have been boosted a lot more. Some close losses against Wisconsin and Providence. Those two wins could have gone a long way for Marquette being ranked higher, but they're going to have plenty more opportunities to get some good wins in the Big East Conference, but they're in at 26. At number 27, we do have Kansas State. Their only loss is to Butler, which isn't a good loss, but they do have some solid wins on the season. They just picked up a big one at home against West Virginia, and I am a West Virginia fan. I think WVU kind of beat themselves, especially on the road in that one. And that's bad, and I'm saying this as a West Virginia fan. West Virginia played awful in that game and still forced overtime. I don't think Kansas State... I think they're a solid team. I think West Virginia is a better team still. I just think they just played horrible and beat up on themselves. But Kansas State did get the win. They deserve a lot of credit. They have a really good point guard in Noel, who is one of the best passers in the country. I mean, that dude put on a passing clinic. They also have a good win over LSU in a close one. So Kansas State coming in at 27. Say what you want about them, but they win some close games. They win a lot of close games. So they're in at number 27. At number 28, another team, that Kansas State beat in a close one is LSU, but they just picked up a big time win at home over Arkansas. Big one. And that loss to Kansas State is their only loss. LSU, a team to watch that if they continue to win in the SEC, which is a very tough physical conference, I could see them climb in these rankings for sure. At number 29, we do have Mississippi State, another SEC team right behind LSU. They had a tough home loss there to Alabama. I don't think that one is that bad of a loss at all. I was more impressed with Alabama than I was disappointed with Mississippi State. But they do have that one loss to Drake, which isn't looking too good. I'm going to need to see Mississippi State pick up some good conference wins to get back up into the top 25. At number 30, we do have Memphis. They just took a hard loss against Tulane. They were easily in my top 25, but that loss to Tulane a very, very tough one, but they played Alabama close on the road. They do have a good win over Auburn. Memphis, still a very solid team, and they're still in the Power 35 at number 30. At number 31, we do have my favorite team, and man, did they look awful against Kansas State on the road, but they have some big games coming up. They got Oklahoma State on the road later on tonight, because you guys will be seeing this on Monday morning. But they got Oklahoma State, and then they got Kansas and Baylor on at home back to back. So they're going to have some opportunities to climb. We're going to find out if WVU is for real. They're down at number 31 after that loss to Kansas State. At number 32, we have St. Mary's, and St. Mary's, another team, kind of in this category with Memphis and Mississippi State, that have one bad loss, but still look like a pretty solid team. Mississippi State lost to Drake, Memphis lost to Tulane, St. Mary's has a bad loss, but they do have good wins over teams like San Diego State, and a close game on the road at Houston, where they almost were able to pull off a big upset over Houston. St. Mary's is a very well-coached team. They deserve to be in the top 35, one of the best mid-majors in the country, easily. At number 33, I do have Auburn, and a lot of people probably think, well, you're a little bit low on Auburn. Well, Auburn's best win is probably against St. Louis, so I don't think that I'm too low on Auburn. They don't have any good wins. You could say, well, they just beat Florida. Well, Florida I don't think is that good at all. They played Florida at home and barely beat them. I got to see Auburn pick up some good conference wins against at least teams like Mississippi State, LSU, Missouri, even Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas. These type of good teams, they're going to have their opportunities against them. Florida at home by 3 or 4 points, that's not impressive to me. They're down at 33, and I think that's kind of maybe a little bit generous even. They're up at 33, I guess. I'm not too high on Auburn this year. I'm going to have to see them beat somebody actually good. At number 34, we do have the North Carolina Tar Heels. Took a tough loss at Pitt, but still I believe that North Carolina is a very solid team. They were starting to look up with wins over teams like Michigan and Ohio State, but then they just fumbled one there against Pitt late. I have them down at 34. They were creeping back into my top 25, but now they're back down to 34. Pitt actually looking like maybe not so bad of a team this year, which is surprising. But at number 35, we do have Ohio State. Like I just said before, they did lose to North Carolina. Very close game in overtime, so Ohio State in here at number 35, right behind North Carolina. So that is my Power 35, the teams that I have to watch that could make it into the Power 35 or back into the Power 35 in the next week or maybe the next few weeks. Or is Illinois? Illinois has some good wins on their resume this season from early on, but lately they've been losing to teams like Missouri, losing to teams like Penn State. It hasn't been looking good. They're going to have to get things turned around. I'm not sure what's happening with Illinois. Same thing with Maryland. I'll go ahead and mention them because it's kind of similar to Illinois. They've just been getting blown out recently. They just got blown out pretty bad by Michigan, which does not look good at all. They got blown out at home to UCLA. They were getting blown out by Tennessee. Started to come back in that game, but it's the same story over the past few games from Maryland, so they're going to have to get it together as well. They're out of my top 35. Texas Tech is a team that I believe is probably going to get into to Power 35 over the next few weeks if they can pick up some good Big 12 wins. They took a road loss to TCU this week, but it was a very close, good game. So look out for the Red Raiders. Rutgers is a team that I believe is better than their record. A very good defensive team. I'm a big fan of Rutgers. We'll see if they can start to pick up some good wins there in the Big Ten. Creighton, you guys all know how I feel about Creighton. I think they have one of the best starting fives in the country. They have a lot of potential. Can they keep picking up the wins? Because they picked up conference wins against teams like Butler and DePaul, but we'll see how they can play against some of the top teams in the Big East, because they did already take a loss in conference to Marquette. So they're going to have to beat some teams in the top of the conference if they want to get back in the rankings. And also, I'll mention real quick Arizona State. They had a really bad loss to San Francisco, but other than that, they've been putting together a very good season. They beat Creighton. They beat Michigan this year. They played Arizona kind of close, so Arizona State deserves a mention as well. So that is going to do it for this week's Power 35 rankings. Let me know if I have anyone that I snubbed, if there's anything you guys would change. I definitely want to hear your guys' opinions down below in the comment section. But like I said, we do daily college basketball content, and we update these power rankings every single Monday morning. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you guys are college basketball fans, and hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.